Like, it feels like we don't, as couples, we don't listen to each other.
I can't be frustrated with uncommunicated expectations.
The Bible tells us that if you go to someone, firstly, if someone wrongs you, you go to them. But if you both of you can't resolve it, then you bring in someone else. And I think in marriage we should be doing that as well.
But take up your position, your rightful position as a helpmate. God has placed you as a helper so that you can help the man in your life become the man or the king that he is meant to be.
Dying is hard, right? And it's a daily journey. And
It's a daily choice.
Yeah, you have to decide every day that you do it.
We come back. We are back, guys. Welcome to our channel. Thank you for tuning in. We are grateful for you. You know the business, like, share, subscribe, still works. Yeah. So, what are we chatting about today?
Today we are talking about. So I was thinking the other time that, like, it feels like we don't, as couples, we don't listen to each other. And I was wondering why. I was just thinking about even different friends that we have where they'll have maybe issues, and when you look at the cause of it, you know, one person is saying, "I've been telling you I want you to do this. I've been telling you that I want you to love me in this way, but you haven't been doing it." You know, and I was like, why is that? Why don't we listen to each other?
It's pride. I think it's pride. Sometimes we think we know better than our spouses. I mean, for the example of just like, I need you to love me this certain way. I think it's a prideful thing and a selfish thing to do when a person is asking you of a certain thing, especially if this is like a union, right? In the union, in the institution of marriage, if someone is asking you, "I need you to love me," or is asking of you, because I need you to love me a certain way, and when you willfully choose to not do that, one, it just shows like a lack of understanding, a lack of selflessness, and you're just being proud, being a proud person, and actually not serving your partner, and you're serving yourself essentially, because it's just like in a marriage you're meant to be serving one another, but yet I think it's willfully serving yourself opposed to your person.
I think as well, though, sometimes it's not like a conscious decision that you make that, you know, okay, this person wants to be loved this way, and then you decide that, no, I'm not going to do it. You know, I think it's a subconscious thing sometimes that just happens. Maybe also let's say it's an area. Maybe let me make an example of us, right? In back then, 2019, where you were asking me to affirm you, and I think I shared recently as well that. For me, it's something that because it's something that I used to do and then it stopped. And when you asked me to come back to doing it, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a struggle. It's not something I can easily do, you know? And in me sharing that with you, that it's something that I can't do, I was not saying I don't want to do it. Like, oh, I tried, I can't do it, that's it, you know? It was something that I tried to do, and then I failed, I guess, in it. But there was me trying, right? And then I guess at the end, then it came across as if I don't want to do it, you know? Whereas I think what would have helped maybe in that thing was when I come and say, I can't do this, you know, if we sit down like, okay, what does that mean, you know? Because I don't think we did that. We didn't talk about, as you were sitting down and you realized that you can't do this, what happened, what changed from you being able to do it, you know? Let's journey, let's talk about it, you know? It was just, I can't, and then it sort of stopped there, because then you felt like, I guess you felt rejected or something as well.
I don't think it was a rejection. It was just, I mean, in that season specifically, I think I had just lost a child. We just lost the child before Zama. We had the ectopic, and then I was pregnant with Uzama, And I guess the battle in my mind is just like, sheesh, my body somewhat is failing me. One, the ectopic happened, and then two, the pregnancy with Uzoma was just like really tough. And yeah, just fighting the, I guess, the voices in my head or the insecurities where my body, when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm just like, yo, I don't feel good. I don't feel like Usindi, right? And in the moment when I needed you the most to champion or to cheerlead, to go say, okay, you know what? You're beautiful regardless. You are carrying a child, and you know, like in that moment or in that season rather, like, man, I mean, you were saying it the other day where you'd walk into a room and I'm just sitting on the side of the bed and I'm looking down like, woe is me, because I was just so ill. And to receive something like that in that moment, I'm just like, I acknowledge what you're currently doing and I appreciate it. But right now, in this moment, I need you to affirm me because Zankalela, you know? And because you used to do it, and for you to then say, I can't, almost immediately felt like, okay, so what I am seeing there in the mirror, or how I'm feeling when I look at myself in the mirror, is then affirming that Uguti, Velishem, Ziakal, my sister, you know? And so in that moment, I guess what the narrative in which, or even the lens in which I viewed the response was of, okay, shoot, what I am seeing in the mirror, Vela is quite flawed because even my partner can't even say, I'm beautiful.
And I guess then it's a communication thing, right? Because I communicated something and then you interpreted it in another way because of what you were going through, right? And I guess that's how we miss each other sometimes as well, because it boils down to communication. How do you communicate? And sitting down, like I was saying, that if when I said that and then we sat down and said, okay, let's look into this. You know, what caused you this? Because as much as you were saying you were going through this, I was going through it in my own way as well, right? That you are sick, that means all other things are falling on me now. There's kids this side, there's the house, there's everything else. So I'm focused more on those things, and then I'm missing what you need, right? So if maybe that, let's say, okay, let's sit down and see what's happening here, you know, I think that could have helped so that you don't interpret me as saying, I can't, as then the thing of, okay, that means, you know, you are seeing me the way I'm seeing you as well. And even with, because like I was saying, that it was not a zero fail, right? Because there were times that I would try. For me to say, to realize that, okay, it's a tough thing to do. There were times where I would try do it. And because it's been a while since doing it, then it was a bit awkward and weird when I'm doing it, right? But I think also in those moments where some, I mean, I'm not saying exactly then, but in general as well, when there's something that maybe you need your partner to do, and you can see that, okay, he did try here and it's a bit awkward. But if you just say, thank you, you know, I can see you're trying, that also does something to me. Like, okay, let me do more of it, you know. But then if you try, but then there's nothing that happens and it's just this awkward thing, the easier thing to do is to retract and go back. And it's a subconscious thing as well. Then next thing, a week or two have gone by and you haven't done that, you know. So I think it's a both sides thing where one, from my side, you try, but from the other side as well, you're like, let's talk about it. And I see as well that you are trying to make an effort as well in this thing.
I mean, I guess so. In addition to that, I think self-awareness is such a beautiful thing. I guess also just I guess asking Holy Spirit to help you to discern in that moment. I mean, if we go back to the 2019 thing, to be quite honest and frank, there was no opportunity, or there was no, not opportunity per se, but like, I don't know, lack of a better term, I guess, like opportunity to actually have those kind of discussions because I was so bedridden, because I was so sick. There was no like, okay, let's talk about it. I don't think I had the energy or we even, yeah, like just the energy to even like unpack even further. I think maybe even in that moment, it required a level of emotional intelligence, I guess from your end in terms of, okay, shish man, this is what my partner is requiring of me in this moment. Whilst I understand, and I think the beauty here, maybe I think, is that I did acknowledge and say, I see that you've taken so much more on your plate right now. But in that moment, I need you to do this for me. And so it could have been then a conversation. I think if the conversation was, okay, what I can't do this, but let me see what I can then chip off from the other tasks that I've taken since you are requiring this of me, so that I can show up better for you. I think it then requires a level of maturity as well, to, I guess, understand. And I think it happens a lot with guys. And I'm generalizing. I'm not saying that every guy does this. But I mean, even with just the pattern in which we're seeing in terms of our friendships and the discord and the miscommunication and what it causes and produces at the end of the day. Like, it's just, I wish men listened to understand opposed to fix, right? There's this saying that happens, or that's thrown around a lot, that you guys are more logic in terms of doing things. You just want, you know? And sometimes I think if we always compartmentalize ourselves and say that we are this kind of person, we miss the opportunity to grow and show up differently in the different spaces. Like, let's talk about the marriage. If you opened up yourself to, or guys opened up themselves to not logically fix stuff and just, okay, in this moment, what does that look like? What does it mean? What is my partner actually saying? And I'm not saying that we as wives don't do this. I think we fall short in terms of sometimes listening to you guys. But I think it's more often, at least in our friendship circles, we've seen a lot of that happening. That at the 11th hour, it's when things are dire that you guys have a light bulb moment where it's like, oh, I need to fix this. I need to now. It feels like it's like at the ultimatum. When you guys get an ultimatum, that's when you just like, okay, I actually need to show up. I don't know why, but it's more guys. And I wish guys would be more intentional to listen to understand opposed to fix.
So, I mean, I think as well, because the thing with, as in a marriage aspect, right? Yeah, that as a husband and wife, we are one, right? And one way of looking at it is that to say, since I can see that you are this way, and I can see that, in you, as your partner, let's work on it together as well, right? To make sure that you don't become like that. Because at the end, if you're going on that route, eventually then things are just gonna go dire, and then everything will just be a mess. So I think looking at it from a lens of helping each other as well. that okay, I can see that as the guy you are more logic, and I'm trying to reach out to you and say I need this, but it's not happening. Sitting down, and I guess it takes maturity from both sides as well, like as the man as well, coming and being mature enough and letting down your pride to say, okay, I'm not see you are trying to show me something and I'm not seeing it. Let me just listen to you and see how you want it to be done and learn from you as well, because we are different people and we need to learn from each other. So I think it requires that, because I think most of the time what we do is you will communicate something, and then maybe on my side I don't do it, and then you are sitting with this thing and it just grows and grows and grows until you get to a point where you want nothing to do with me because I didn't meet that need from you. But instead of us coming together and sitting down and talking about it, and one of the things that I always see that I think a lot of couples miss is just sitting down and talking. Daily chats, weekly chats, quarterly, annual. Usually we just go on with life and we do things as we go, but we need to be intentional. If you said to me, let's now go back, like let's say, yeah, you said, I want you to love me this way. I need to go and sit down and say, okay, I need to do this. At the end of the week, we sit down together and I ask you, did I do it? Did I hit the mark or did I miss it? If you come and say, you did nothing, then I sit down and I'm like, oh, okay, there's some self-awareness thing that, okay, I didn't do it. And what are the reasons? These are the reasons. Let's see how I do next week. I know that I'm going to come back again. You're going to sit down and I'm going to be like, okay, how did I do this week? Okay, this week, yeah, you did. I remember when you said this, I liked that, I liked this. As we are talking and we are tracking with each other, it's something that eventually, as well on my side, it becomes like a natural thing to do. But I think most of the time we don't do that. We'll share expectations, and then the expectation is you do it. We don't come back and track with each other and check how we are doing with it. And I think that's one of the reasons why we end up missing each other as well.
So then what happens? I mean, one is, maybe let's speak into what happens. I mean, there's a tracking that you are speaking of, but then there is a lack of intentionality when it comes to wanting to change. I mean, I guess in the sense that I'll say lack of intentionality because, like, let's say now we are talking about this and we're talking about this, but there has not been any improvement or change. So what then? Because like maybe there's somebody that's watching here and this person has been speaking, we can communicate. I mean, again, I always say like, I can't, I can't be frustrated with uncommunicated expectations, right? And I think yes, it's the duty of the both of us to grow together, intentionally grow together. But at the end of the day, as individuals, we need to die to self. I think dying to self. And dying to self can also mean like intentionally doing the work. If we're having a conversation, there needs to be a level of, sheesh, okay, I am hearing my partner. I need to go away, maybe introspect if I can't like process, introspect, and then have the willingness to then do the work that is required to make then this work. However, sometimes we find ourselves that we have these conversations before the tracking system is in place. We're having these conversations and it happens timelessly. Like every time we have the conversation, getting to a point where a wife or a partner is just like, what's the point of actually communicating this? Because angizwa, abangizwa. And so rather than leave it. Like I think it's important when you then choose to be in a partnership, in a marriage, to then, like, I think the first thing is to die to self. I mean, God calls us to die to self, right? Just as you walk with Him, but also like now when you enter a marriage and you say I do, like we were speaking about the vows the last time, it's like you're dying to self, and so you are serving your partner above your own needs. Your partner's needs come above yours. And so this is why my first response was then it's pride and selfishness that causes us not to listen to each other. Before we even get to the tracking, if you can't listen to me, and I'm not saying listen guti dictatorship, not that kind of listening, but just like listening to understand, like the scripture that you referenced about this installment is be slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to speak. I think that in
And slow to
paraphrasing,
end.
and slow to anger, we don't do that well. We don't do that well. There's a lack of intentionality when it comes to that.
And I think it's because dying is hard, right? And it's a daily journey. And
It's a
there's
daily
things,
choice.
yeah, you have to decide every day that you do it. And because of that, it's sometimes you're gonna fail, right? But then it takes you coming back again, and you're learning about yourself in this thing. I'm learning about you as well. So because of the process that it takes, we just need to always be, I think, self-aware of each other and aware of you as well, where you are. And it's a daily thing that we need to do because it's so easy to just, as human beings, we're just selfish people, right? So to get out of that, you need to die to self. So it's very easy to just be selfish. So when someone says something, it's easy to just look at you and carry on doing your own thing. But it takes daily intentionality to come and sit down proper and take time into really listening to what you're saying, out of everything, because sometimes life is just happening as well. You know, you're going through things at work, everywhere. So those things can become the noise that distract you from what is happening here at home, what your partner wants, you know. And that's why it helps to daily then come and talk, you know, to quieten everything else that's happening outside. Because if you don't, those things are gonna grab your attention, and next thing you see it, you are down this track, and it's even hard to come back from it, because that's where we find a lot of people right now that they feel like, you know, I've been wanting this, I've been saying this, and now I don't want to come back to this thing because I am so hurt. I don't see a way of fixing this, you know. But if it's an intentional daily thing where you are tracking with yourself, tracking with your partner, I think it would help. And also with that, let's say then you are talking, and then like you were saying, like, okay, what happens then? That we are talking, you are saying you can't do it, but there's no change as well. I think that's where community as well comes in place, you know, because the Bible tells us that if you go to someone, firstly, if someone wrongs you, you go to them. But if you both of you can't resolve it, then you bring in someone else. And I think in marriage we should be doing that as well. Where if we are struggling with something, like you've been telling me and I'm not doing it, that's when first, like, we can even have our friends, like a good close group of friends that we have. We reach out to them. If not, there's marriage mentors as well that we need to be in community with. We reach out to them so that they can help us with on that journey, because marriage is not just meant to be us alone doing it. This is the first time, you know, we've been here. So we need other people that have been here before us to help us as well. And sometimes you need a third party to make you see something differently as well. That's okay. I guess because, you know, you are older and you are wiser as well. You know, they can have different ways of helping in a marriage.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like an understanding of just why some people then end up giving up, because if you find yourself, maybe let's say we're married 10, 12 years now, and in those 12 years, I don't feel loved, I don't feel seen, then it's hard for me to then receive love, right? From you, like when the bulb comes on, because I feel like even with females, I would say rather, like it's a process, it's a long process for them to get to the ultimate decision. Guti, I'm out. They fight, they contend with this thing until then they are out. But I do concur with you when you say that in a marriage, you can't do it alone. You need a good support structure, a good support system to help you navigate, to give you a different perspective, to call you up and call you out, like I always say. But then, what do you say? What would you say to guys? How would you encourage guys within the context of marriage to listen better to their spouses or to their partners, to their wives?
I would say when your partner speaks, well, when your wife speaks, right, you try to listen from their point of view, because I think most of the time, because we have a way of seeing things, then it could be like, okay, what you are saying, I hear you, but it's not really making sense for me. Like for me, what would make sense is doing this, and then we tend to go that route. But if I put myself in your shoes to say, okay, you said you need this, let me then do it that way. It will help. And then coming back and say, okay, I'm trying to do this. Am I doing it right? Because I can.
Sorry.
Because I can also say, okay, you want this, and here I am doing it, but I'm doing it in a totally different way, right? So I need to come back to you as well and say, okay, I did it. Is that the right way? Is it hitting that spot for you, or do I need to change it? And you can come back and say, change it here, or yes, you are doing it right. Let's continue this way. But I think it's just changing the view and putting myself in your shoes.
Okay. For us women, I think, I mean, there's a level of grace that we need to extend. And the beautiful thing here is, like, I think knowing our rightful positions as the helpmates, the helper that God has made us to be, not a maid, but just like being submissive to you in the sense that I submit to you because I understand that you're submitted to Christ. And so you being submitted to Christ helps then navigate, makes it a bit easier to then submit to you, right? I think if we are taking our rightful positions as the helpers, as the helpmates, it helps us to then take ground in terms of how we communicate with our partners, not from an intimidated place, but from like an assertive, Oguti, listen, I'm here to help you. Just the thought of, I mean, well, the point where you are making, Guti, we need to be helping each other. We are one, meant to be growing intentionally together. That is also just our position in terms of helping our partners to then get to the place of, hey, being better communicators, being better listeners, and not losing patience or hope quickly, because at some point we're also a bit impatient with you guys, so that the level of extending grace, the part of extending grace to them, however, not not excusing tardiness, because we can extend the grace, but we're not going to excuse the tardiness, as in like you need to jack up and show up and do the work that you need to do. Yeah, I think for me, just extending the grace, but take up your position, your rightful position as a helpmate. You are a helper. God has placed you as a helper so that you can help the man in your life become the man or the king that he's meant to be. And so if you understand your positioning, then the perspective changes in terms of how you then show up, even in the communication. Yeah,
I think my closing statements, I can just say, the thing with marriage is, like we're saying, it's dying to self, right? But it requires both people to die. It can't just be one person dying and then the other one is just getting and getting, Then you're not equally yoked in that marriage. You're not equal, This one is dying and dying, but the other one, nothing is happening to them. So it requires both people to die and put in that work as well for it to work.
but yeah, guys, that is us. This is the installment. God bless you. Like, share, subscribe.